Hi, my name is Ram, and welcome to the series where we build real web application with React and Node.js. So in this session, we're going to implement reset password functionality. This is going to be very simple. You know everything you need to know, so most of the time we're just going to repeat the same thing that we did before, with only one piece of new knowledge is about JSON Web Token verification. Okay, so I want to thank you all for your comments, for your discussion. Keep them coming. Comment in the comments below or pin me on Twitter. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll try to get to them as fast as possible. Also, on this week, I haven't uploaded any videos because of the moving to the new apartment, but now I'm settled down. I got my working place in order, so everything's pretty cool. So let's get started. First of all, let's go to our GitHub here and my mock, and you can see that that's pretty standard stuff that we want to build. So first we'll need to have two pages basically. The first one is the forgot password page where we have a form with just email field. Then we're gonna generate link with token and we're gonna send it to the user. And then we'll have another page, reset password page, where we have two states in this page. Error state is when we have invalid token, and if token is valid, then another form with password reset. And if this form is okay, if this data is okay, then we reset password and redirect back to login page. You've done it, I think, a million times, right? With other technologies. Okay, so basically in all this 6th episode, and we do the thing that we could do, for example, in Ruby on Rails in 10 minutes. But that's fun. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, let's go to login page, and here let's add link to new route. We call it forgot password. Okay, and here we'll do just forgot password. And let's import it from link from React router DOM. Okay, so now we have route. Let's go to app.js file. And here, that's the guest route. So we're going to just copy this line like this, forgot password, and we'll have forgot password page. So let's import this page, forgot password page, and now let's create it. So components, pages, forgot password page.js. Okay, so we have forgot password page. By the way, today I think the Sublime text became released with version 3.0, so now I have this license upgrade required. Okay, so now here on this password page, what do we want to do? So we'll have state here with just success false. And when it's false, we display this form. If it's true, then we display some message. So let's have a look here. So we'll say if this state success true, then we'll have message. And let's say email has been sent. Otherwise, here we'll have form. So we'll have something like let's say forgot password form. Okay, so of course we need to pass submit here. This submit. Let's save it. And here we define submit, and it will take some data, and it will pass this data to this props. Let's call it reset password request. And we pass data to it. And if everything's okay, we just go into this set state success true. Okay, so let's define prop types for this component. we'll need to have reset password request. That's a function. And we'll need to have another thing. We need to import message from semantic UI React. And we need to import this form, forgot password form, from forms, forgot password form. So now let's define this in forms, forgot password form.js. And here I'm gonna use the boilerplate snippet for this form, and that's gonna be React semantic form, bam. And I call it, I already forgot password form, like this. And we have a template. So in this form, we'll have only one field, that's email. And in validation, we need to validate it. So again, if not is email data email, then we add errors email equals invalid email. So now we need to import it. So we'll have is email from validator lib is email. Okay, so now we need to define, we have errors, we have data, we have load-in, so now we need to define this form field. Again, I have the snippet for it, for email, 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 email on change without any changes. And that's it, we have our form. So this form accepts submit, the usual stuff that we did before. So now we need to define in forgot password, we have here the reset password request. So we need to create this thunk action and we need to connect this element. So we do the usual drill. So we connect this element. We do not need, I think, to pass anything to it. So there's going to be null. And here we'll have the reset password request. So now we need to import it. Reset password request from actions auth. So now let's go to auth and let's add this thunk action. Reset password request, we have data. We do not need to dispatch anything because we're not going to react anyway in Redux store. So all we do here is we make API request users, user, and we have the reset password request and we pass data to it. All that we have in this data is just an email, so we can even do something like this, email, and pass email to it. So now let's go to the API, and here we'll have the reset password request. It takes email, and we make access post request to API auth reset password request, and we pass email to it. And that's it. That's it for the client-side part. So now we go to backend. So let's go to auth, and here let's define new route, post reset password request. So what do we want to do here? We want to find one user by email that we take from request body email, and then if we have user, then it means that we can actually send email. So we'll do something like send reset password email, and we pass user to it. And after that, we just respond with JSON. Everything's went fine. Otherwise, we'll just do, we're going to respond with status 400, and JSON is going to be errors, global. We could say that we do not have user with such email. There is no user with such email. Or we could be more not so precise. We just can say that, hey, something went wrong. So we do not tell user whether we have emails, user with such email or not. Okay. So now let's go back to our React application, and here in form, let's add the check for this error. So we have errors. So if error is global present, then we'll have message negative that says that we have this error global. So, and we need to add message here. Okay, so going back to backend code. So here, what we do, we find user, we send email, or if we haven't found one, we respond with error. So now we need to define this reset password email. So let's import it from mailer.js, and let's open mailer and let's define it. So it will be very similar to this one. So I'm gonna just copy it. Send reset password email. It takes user, we have transport, we have email. Here we have from to. The subject is reset password, and the text is to reset password, follow this link, and we'll have generate reset password link, and then we send in this email. Okay, so now we need to go to user model and define this method. And we need to think about how we want to implement it. The best way to do that is to actually save this token into the database, into the user model. And when we have it, we'll not only verify this token, but we also check that this particular token is in the database. But we'll do it easier, simpler, and not so secure. And your homework will be to make it more secure. So what we're gonna do, we're just going to create JSON web token. We encode in a public part, we'll encode user ID, and then we'll add also expiration date, for example, for 1 hour. So this way, this token will be valid only for 1 hour. And we will not save it in the database. So let's generate. So we'll have schema, methods. We generate a reset password link. That's function generate reset password link. And we return like this. We'll return process.env host. And then we have the reset password. And then we need to add the token. And the token itself is going to be this generate reset password token. Okay, so let's define it. It will be almost the same as this one. So generate a reset password token, generate reset password token. And we're gonna assign it, but we're gonna assign it with just one thing, with ID equals this ID. We'll have the same secret, of course, but here we'll add another option that is expires in, and we said 1 second. So this way we can check for invalidness, and then we'll make it a little bit more realistic, 1 hour. And you can see that linter here is not happy because we have the rule no underscore dangle. But when we work with Node.js and MongoDB, and in MongoDB, the ID attribute field is underscore. So we need to add this exception to our ESLint. So let's open ESLint. And here in rules, I'm gonna add no underscore dangle. And I'm gonna allow only ID. Other than that, I still want to enforce this rule. So now if I reopen the user, it should be okay. Yeah, no errors. Nice. Okay, so we generate token, we generate this link, we generate token, we encode in this token ID and expiration time, and then we send it to the user. So now we can test it and hopefully it will work. So now I forgot this password. So if I try something like my email, remchi@gmail.com. Forgot password. There is no such user. Okay, that's nice. But now if I go to test.com, email has been sent. And I use mailtrap. And here we have reset password, and here we have this token. Excellent, so it works. We have link. Now we need to create page route and page to handle it. So let's go back to our editor, to React application, going back to app. And here let's define another guest route. And this route will be reset password. And here we'll have reset password page. So let's copy this thing and change forgot to reset. And now we need to create one. Reset password page.js. And this one also will have state, and basically it will have three states. The first one is I'm loading, I'm checking, I'm validating. The second one, if token is invalid, error message. And the third one is everything's okay, then we have form. So let's do it like this. We'll have loading, true by default, and success, false by default. So now here in div, in render method, we want to check. So if we are loading, okay, so here I'm gonna deconstruct it, loading and success, this state. So if we're loading, then we'll have message loading. I'm not gonna style it, I will do it later, maybe together with you, or maybe off the camera. And then we'll have if not loading and success, then I will have some kind of form. For now, just message form. And if I not loading and not succeeded, then I have error message, in this case, invalid token. So now we know that we have invalid token, so that's the state, that the message that we want to see. To do that, when we mount this component, we want to make a request to the server right away. So we do it with component did mount. So we'll have component did mount. And when it mounts, this props, let's call it a validate token, and we pass token from the route itself. So this props match params token. In app here, where we define reset password, of course we need to provide token as well here. Okay, so now we have something like we need to define this prop types, and somebody asked me, do I need to define prop types? Well, you don't. You freely can you're free not to do it, but you should, because if you do not use float or you do not use TypeScript, it's the simplest type checking, and most importantly, it's great documentation. So when you come back to this code and you want to figure out what your components do, you just go to the prop types and you see what kind of data it needs. And that's very, very convenient. So here, what we want to have validate token, that's going to be a function. And we'll have the match, that's going to be a shape. And inside of this shape, we'll have params with another shape. And inside of this params, we'll have token, that is string. And we need to import prop types, and we need to import a message from Semantic UI React. So now we need to connect this component. So import connect. Here I'm going to connect it. Map state to props, we do not need to have anything here, but we need to have validate token. And let's import it. Validate token, we import from actions auth. So this is this page component, and we're gonna add here, instead of this message later, we're gonna add here the form, resetting form. But for now, I want to make sure that invalid token is actually invalid. So we check for it, it expires, and we display our message to the user. So now let's go to auth. This is pretty standard stuff already. So we'll have thunk action, we'll have validate token, it takes token, we do not need to dispatch anything, and then we'll have API user, validate token, and we pass token to it. So now we go to API, and here also we'll do validate token, it takes token, and we'll have access post request to API auth validate token, and we pass token to it. Good. Let's have a look in the browser. So now let's copy this link from our email, and we're going to paste it here. Okay, so we reload the page, we see that we are loading, but we do not do any kind of request. Let's have a look. Component did mount. Still have me, so let's try it again. Reload the page. And now we can see we have loaded, and we have 404 validation token and token itself. Good. So now we need to validate this token. So let's go to backend code, to auth route here, and let's define another route. So we have post validate token route. So what do we need to do here? We need to validate route. So we'll have JSON web token library, and there is a method verify, and it takes token itself. So we'll have request body token. It takes the secret key. We store it in process and jot secret, and it has the callback function that takes error and decoded object, the public stuff from it. We do not need to have this decoded, so we'll just have error. So that's the thing that we're interested in. So if error, then we respond with some kind of error message. In our case, it's going to be just the status 401 and empty JSON object. So nothing special. But if everything's okay, we respond with empty JSON object and OK status. Of course, we need to import JSON web token from JSON web token. So now let's reload the page. Loading. And we have 401. Excellent. We have 401 error. But in client, I forgot in the form itself here, I need, of course, to have the results. So if everything's okay, we have this set state, and we set loading to false and success to true. Success to true. And in the case of error, we catch it, and we'll have this set state, loading false, and success false as well. So now if we go back, it reloads, and we have invalid token. Great. So it expired. Let's fix it in backend code here in modal. Let's add it back to 1 hour. So now when we have it, we have the whole hour to test the things out. So, and for that, let's go back to forgot password for test@test.com. Email sent. Here we have it. Let's copy it and paste it here. Loading form. So this token is valid. Great. So now we can display this form, and after that we can reset the password. So let's do this pretty quickly. So now here, instead of this message, we want to have reset password form. And it will take submit as usual, this submit, but also it will take token. and we'll take it from here. Const token equals this props match params token. Okay, so we pass token to it. So this way, we will, as we do not store this token in the database, we need somehow to find the user model. And this is our way. So we'll have token and we'll supply it, we'll send it alongside with the new password. So this way, then on the server, we verify this token again, and we have this decoded part. And from the decoded part, we'll have ID, and by this ID, we'll find user, and by this ID, we'll update it. So let's do this. So we have reset password form. So now we need to import it. Reset password form from forms, reset password form. Let's create one, forms reset password form.js using reset password form here. And we have three fields. We'll have ID, and that's going to be, not ID, we'll have token, and that's going to be this props token. And here in prop types, we'll have token as string. And two other fields as password and password confirmation. So now in validation here, we'll check if not data password, then errors password equals to can't be blank. And if data password not equals to data password confirmation, then we'll have errors passwords must match. Okay, so now we have validation, we have our data fields. So now we need to create our form fields. Here we'll set reset, and we'll add form field. The first one is password. We'll have new password. Type is password. Placeholder is your new password. On change without any changes. And the second form field is password confirmation. Confirm your new password. We'll have password here, and we'll have type it again, please. Okay, so this is our form for resetting password. So now in page, we need to define the submit. So we'll have submit. It takes, as usual, some data. And here we'll have this props reset password. We'll pass data to it. And then if everything's okay, we'll have the redirection. So we'll have this props history.push, and we'll go to login. So we introduced two new props, so let's define them. First of all is reset password. That's a function. And the next one is history. And that's shape, inside of which we'll have push. That is the function. So now reset password. So we'll do it right here, reset password from auth, and we added here as well, reset password. So now let's go to auth, and let's define our last for today thunk action, reset password. It takes data, we do not need to dispatch anything, API user, reset password, and we pass data to it. So let's go to API, and we add reset passwords. It takes data, and we have access post request to API auth reset password, and we pass data to it. So now we need to do Let's try it out first in the browser. So if we try to reset right now, we can't. If we have test ttt, they don't match, so we'll have test now. And we make in a reset password request with data. Inside of this data, we have passwords and we have token. Great. So now on to the backend. On the backend, in the auth here, we'll define new route, post request, reset password. So here, first of all, let's get the password and token from a request body data. We're gonna use it. Now we're gonna verify it again. So for example, if user spent an hour trying to reset password, this token will not be valid anymore. So we're gonna verify the same token with process.env.secret, and we'll have error and we'll have decoded object here. So if we have error, we respond immediately with respond status for a 1, and JSON is some kind of error. As we have form, we could have the global error for that. So we'll have errors, global, let's say invalid. Invalid token. Otherwise, if everything's okay, we need to find user by this ID and then update password. So there are two ways to do that. In MongoDB, we can use find one and update, but for that we need password first. We need to encrypt it, or we can find and then update. That's not really great, but we'll do this. We already used find one and update once, right? So let's do something new. We'll have user, and we find one by ID, and this ID equals to decoded.id. So then we'll have user. And if we have this user, if user is okay, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna set password. We reuse that function that we used before, and we pass password here, and then we'll have save. It will return promise, and if this is okay, then we respond with JSON empty object. Okay, so if we haven't found user, it was deleted or something happened, we respond with another error here. So we'll have status 404, JSON errors, let's say global, invalid token. Okay, so as you can see, this is not ideal. It's very simplistic code, but it will work for now, and you can update it and refactor it and make it much more secure as your home task. So for example, as I told you before, you can save a JSON web token into the model itself and check verified token, check that this token belongs to the user, and the details in token and details in the database are the same. So that's one way to ensure that, that's the token that we sent. And that also means that there is only one token at the one period of time that is active. And when, for example, you reset, the password has been reset, you nullify this token. So this way you can't use already used token. In our case, we can use it indefinitely until it expires. So yeah, that's the homework for you on the weekends. Try to play with this code, try to make it prettier, try to change this find one to find one and update, and maybe extract set password here in model. We have set password, but maybe add here the encryption in the separate method that you can use. So yeah, play with it and let me know what you come up with. But for our purposes, let's go to our application. We'll load in. It's okay. So we'll have test, bam, and we redirect it. So now if I try test, I'm logged in. But it was the password for this particular user. So let's try another one. So I'm gonna have test. As I told you before, I do not need to use this one. I can just reuse the same link, the same password during this hour, and it works. So we'll have test, 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 test. Now, good. So now with this old password, I can't, invalid credentials, but test, test, and I'm in. And that's pretty much concludes the reset password functionality. What we didn't do here is we didn't send any email, confirmation email, something like, hey, you change your password. If you haven't done it, contact us, or something like that. Again, another email, try to do it by yourself, implement it by yourself. It's a great exercise just to do this thing and to form your skills here. Okay, that's it for this session. Thank you very much for your time. If you like this episode and this series, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. Also, share it with your friends, share it on social media, spread the word. Also, if you want to support me financially, you can go to my Patreon page, and all links in the description below. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great day.